The morning sky over Colorado Springs was clear and blue when the shadows appeared. At first, people thought it was just a strange cloud formation, but the shadows grew larger and darker until they covered half the sky. The massive alien ships hung in the air like giant metal cities, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking his third cup of coffee in the United Earth Defense Command Center when the alarm started blaring. The coffee cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor as he watched the main screen fill with incoming signals from around the globe. Every major city on Earth was reporting the same thing: alien ships in the sky. "Sir, we're getting a transmission," called out Lieutenant Amy Chun from her communications station. "It's coming from the largest ship. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, all languages." Morrison straightened his uniform and walked to the center of the command room. Around him, dozens of military personnel worked frantically at their stations, trying to make sense of what was happening. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered to life, and suddenly they were face to face with something that definitely wasn't human. The alien was tall, maybe 8 feet, with a body that looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a spider. Its skin was a dark green color that seemed to shimmer in the light. 4 arms extended from its torso, each ending in hands that had too many fingers. But it was the eyes that made Morrison's skin crawl, 6 red orbs that glowed like hot coals, arranged in 2 rows across its elongated skull. "I am General Korthak of the Zephyrian Empire," the creature said in perfect English, its voice deep and resonating. "I speak to the dominant species of this planet. You will listen and you will obey." Morrison looked around the room. Everyone had stopped what they were doing and was staring at the hologram. Outside, he could hear the distant sound of car horns and sirens as people realized what was happening. "Your species has been observed and evaluated," Korthak continued. "We have watched your primitive wars, your simple weapons, your limited attempts at space travel. You are children playing with toys. We are the masters of 17 star systems. We have conquered worlds whose technology makes your greatest achievements look like cave paintings." The alien's 4 arms moved as it spoke, gesturing in ways that seemed both elegant and threatening. Behind it, Morrison could see the interior of the alien ship, gleaming metal walls covered in strange symbols and lights that pulsed with unknown energy. "You have 72 of your hours to surrender unconditionally," Korthak said. "Lay down your weapons, gather your leaders, prepare to serve the Zephyrian Empire. Some of you may be allowed to live as servants if you prove useful. The rest will be eliminated." The hologram flickered and disappeared. For a moment, the command center was completely silent except for the hum of computers and the distant sound of chaos outside. Then everyone started talking at once. "Get me the president," Morrison barked. "And the Joint Chiefs? And someone find out how many of these ships are out there." Within minutes, the communication channels were buzzing with activity. President Lisa Carter appeared on screen from the White House, her usually perfect hair slightly disheveled. "Admiral, what's our situation?" "We've got confirmed sightings of alien vessels over every major city on Earth," Morrison replied. "The ships are massive. Our best estimates put the largest ones at over 5 miles long. They're just sitting there, waiting." "What about our defenses?" asked General Peter Hayes, joining the conference call from the Pentagon. "Can we fight them?" Morrison looked at the tactical display showing the alien ships. "General, our most advanced fighters would be like mosquitoes attacking a whale. These ships are beyond anything we've ever imagined." But something strange was happening outside the military channels. Social media was exploding, but not with panic. Instead, people were posting jokes, memes, and videos mocking the alien threat. The hashtag #AlienFail was trending within an hour of the broadcast. A video from a teenager in California showed him pointing at the sky and laughing. "Dude, did you see that bug thing? It looks like something from a bad horror movie, and what's with the glowing eyes? Is it trying to be scary or just needs better lighting?" Late-night talk show hosts were having a field day. Jimmy Carlson opened his show with, "So aliens finally showed up, and they look like they shop at the same place as every movie villain ever. What's next? Are they going to demand our leaders meet them at the top of the Empire State Building? At a small diner in Kansas, waitress Betty Johnson was serving coffee to trucker Danny Walsh when the news came on the television. They watched the alien general's ultimatum in silence, then looked at each other and burst out laughing. 17 star systems? Betty chuckled, refilling Danny's cup. Wait till they meet the IRS. Those guys will have the aliens begging to go back to space. Danny nodded, taking a sip of coffee. And did you hear what he said about our weapons? Being primitive? Someone should tell him about nuclear bombs. Or teenagers with smartphones. I'd rather face the alien army than a group of angry teenagers with internet access. The laughter wasn't just happening in America. Around the world, people were responding to the alien threat with humor and defiance. In London, a group of university students hung a banner from their dorm window that read, "Aliens welcome, but you're buying the first round." In Tokyo, someone had already created a cartoon version of General Korthik selling insurance. Back in the command center, Morrison was getting reports from around the globe. "Sir, this is unprecedented," Lieutenant Chun reported. "Instead of mass panic, we're seeing mass mockery. People are making jokes, creating art, and some are even having alien invasion parties." Morrison shook his head in disbelief. "Are you telling me that humanity's first response to an alien invasion is to make fun of it?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you, sir," Chun replied. "The internet is full of videos of people doing alien impressions. Someone in Detroit has already started selling t-shirts with General Korthak's face on them." President Carter appeared. On screen again. "Admiral, what do you make of this public response?" Morrison looked at the screen showing both the alien ships and the human reaction. "Madam President, I've been in the military for 30 years, and I've never seen anything like it. Most species would be terrified, but somehow we're treating this like entertainment." "Maybe that's not such a bad thing," Carter said thoughtfully. "Fear makes people do stupid things. If people aren't afraid, maybe they'll think more clearly." As the day wore on, the alien ships remained motionless in the sky, but humanity's response grew more creative and more defiant. News reporters were interviewing people on the street, and the answers were consistently surprising. "Are you afraid of the aliens?" One reporter asked an elderly man in New York. The man looked up at the massive ship hovering over the city and shrugged. "Kid, I lived through the Cold War, Vietnam, and the last 30 years of politics. A giant bug in a fancy spaceship doesn't scare me. Besides, if they were really that tough, would they need to give us 3 days to think about it?" By evening, the alien ultimatum had become the subject of countless jokes, songs, and even a hastily produced movie trailer. The world's leaders were meeting in emergency sessions, but their citizens were buying alien-themed merchandise and planning viewing parties for what they assumed would be humanity's inevitable victory. As Admiral Morrison prepared for a long night of planning, he couldn't help but wonder what General Korthak and his alien army were thinking about humanity's response. He had a feeling they were about to find out just how wrong they had been about the human species. General Korthak stood in the command center of his flagship, staring at the holographic displays that showed Earth's continents. His 6 red eyes focused on the streaming data that his intelligence officers were feeding him, and what he saw made no sense at all. "Commander Zolthan," he called to his second-in-command, a smaller alien with silver skin and 4 arms like his own. "Explain to me why these humans are not preparing for evacuation or surrender." Zolthan's own eyes dimmed with confusion as he studied the reports. "General, our monitoring systems show that instead of fleeing their cities or gathering their military forces, the humans appear to be creating what they call entertainment about us. They are making images, videos, and songs that mock our appearance and our demands." Korthak's claws clicked against the metal railing as he processed this information. In his 300 years of military service, he had conquered the Altarians, who had surrendered within 6 hours of his arrival. The Centauri Federation had lasted 3 days before their leaders begged for mercy. The Rigel colonies had actually attacked his fleet, but even they had shown proper fear before their destruction. Show me these entertainment creations. Korthik demanded. The holographic display changed to show a collection of human videos. In one, a small human child had drawn a picture of Korthik with the words "Scary Bugman" written in colorful letters. In another, a group of adult humans were dressed in costumes that looked like crude imitations of Zephyrian battle armor, dancing to music while pretending to demand surrender from their pets. "General," Zoltan said hesitantly, "there is also this." The display showed a human news program where a female was interviewing people on the street. "The humans are calling this an alien invasion party weekend, and many are planning to gather in large groups to watch our ships." Korthik's mandibles clicked in frustration. Do they not understand that we could destroy their entire planet with a single command? Do they not comprehend the power of the Zephyrian Empire? "It appears they do not, General," Zoltan replied. "Our translation systems indicate that many humans believe this is some form of elaborate deception or entertainment program created by their own species." Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Amy Rodriguez was suiting up for what might be the most important mission in human history. The experimental spacecraft Eagle 1 sat in its hangar at the Kennedy Space Center, sleek and silver against the Florida sky. Her crew, pilot Jack Turner and engineer Carlos Martinez, were running final checks on their systems. "You know, Amy," Jack said as he tested the navigation controls, "when I joined the space program, I thought the most dangerous thing I'd face would be mechanical failure. I never expected to be flying up to meet actual aliens." Carlos looked up from his engineering station. "At least they gave us 3 days to think about it. That's more notice than I got for my last performance review." The Eagle 1 was humanity's most advanced spacecraft, but compared to the alien vessels hanging in the sky, it looked like a paper airplane next to a jumbo jet. The mission was simple: make contact with the alien fleet and try to understand what they really wanted. As the Eagle 1 lifted off from Earth, millions of people around the world watched on television and internet streams. The comments scrolling across the screens were typical of humanity's response to the crisis. "Go get 'em, Amy," typed someone from Australia. "Show those bugs what Earth is made of." "I bet their spaceship doesn't even have cup holders," added a viewer from Canada. The flight to the alien mothership took 3 hours. As the Eagle 1 approached the massive vessel, the crew could see the true scale of what they were facing. The ship was not just large. It was a floating city with sections that twisted and curved in ways that human architecture had never imagined. "Eagle 1, this is Zephyrian Command," came a voice through their communications system. "You are cleared for Docking Bay 7. Follow the guidance lights." The docking bay was enormous, filled with alien fighter craft that looked like metallic wasps, crossed with military jets. As the crew stepped out of their ship, they were met by a group of Zephyrian soldiers who escorted them through corridors that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. General Korthak received them in a chamber that was clearly designed to intimidate. The walls were covered with weapons from conquered worlds, and holographic displays showed the destruction of alien cities. The general himself stood on a raised platform, his 6 eyes fixed on the 3 humans who seemed impossibly small in the vast space. "I am General Korthak," he announced, his voice echoing off the walls. "I have brought you here so that you may witness the power of the Zephyrian Empire and carry word back to your leaders." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "General, I'm Captain Amy Rodriguez of the United Earth Defense Command. We appreciate the meeting, but first, do you have coffee? Because this is going to take a while." Korthak's eyes blinked in confusion. "Coffee? It's a drink we humans need to function properly," Rodriguez explained. "If we're going to discuss terms, we should be comfortable." The alien general stared at her for a long moment, then gestured to one of his officers. "Bring the humans their liquid sustenance." As they waited, Korthak began his presentation. He showed them recordings of his victories over other worlds, expecting to see fear in their eyes. Instead, Dr. Frank Bennett, the mission's historian and cultural expert, took notes and asked technical questions. "Fascinating," Bennett said as he watched footage of plasma cannons destroying a city. Your energy weapons are quite impressive, but have you considered the power consumption? Those plasma bolts must require enormous amounts of energy. The energy requirements are irrelevant. Korthek replied, "We have the power to destroy worlds." "Oh, I'm sure you do," Bennett continued. "But efficiency matters in any military operation. Our nuclear weapons might be primitive by your standards, but they're surprisingly cost-effective. One bomb, properly placed, can level a city, and the radiation keeps the area uninhabitable for decades." Jack Turner, who had been quietly observing the alien technology, spoke up. "General, your ships are impressive, but how do you handle maintenance? I mean, something this big must require constant repairs and upgrades." Korthak was becoming increasingly frustrated. These humans were supposed to be cowering in terror, begging for mercy. Instead, they were treating this like a technical conference. "You do not understand," he said, his voice rising. "I have conquered 17 star systems. I have seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations. Your species is primitive, divided, and weak." Captain Rodriguez sipped the alien equivalent of coffee that had been brought to her. "General, you keep saying that, but if we're so primitive, why did you need to give us 3 days to surrender? Why not just attack immediately?" "Because," Korthek said, his claws clicking with agitation, "it is the way of the Zephyrian Empire to offer mercy to those who submit willingly." "That's very civilized of you," Rodriguez replied. "But you might want to reconsider your intelligence." "Reports, I don't think you understand humans as well as you think you do." Carlos Martinez, who had been examining the alien technology around them, looked up from his notes. "General, your artificial gravity system is fascinating. Is it based on graviton manipulation or some form of exotic matter?" "Why do you ask such questions?" Korthak demanded. "You are here to witness our power, not to learn our secrets." "Well," Carlos said with a shrug, "I'm an engineer. I see cool technology, I want to understand how it works, it's what we do." The meeting continued for several hours with the humans, asking questions, making observations, and treating the whole situation as if they were tourists visiting a museum. General Korthek found himself answering technical questions about his weapon systems, explaining the logistics of interstellar travel, and even discussing the cultural differences between various conquered species. By the time the human delegation prepared to leave, Korthak was more confused than ever. These creatures showed no fear, no proper respect for his power, and no understanding of their hopeless situation. They treated him like an interesting curiosity rather than a conqueror. "General," Captain Rodriguez said as they prepared to return to their ship, "thank you for the tour. Your technology is impressive, but I think you're underestimating what you're dealing with on Earth." "And what am I dealing with?" Korthak asked. Rodriguez smiled. "Humans, General. You're dealing with humans, and we're really good at dealing with bullies." As the Eagle One departed the alien mothership, General Korthek stood alone in his command chamber, staring at the blue world below. For the first time in his long military career, he was beginning to wonder if he had made a mistake. General Korthek paced back and forth in his command center, his forearms moving in agitation as he watched the reports coming in from Earth. 24 hours had passed since his ultimatum, and the humans were still making jokes about him. His intelligence officers showed him videos of human children dressed as Zephyrian soldiers for what they called Halloween parties, even though it was not their traditional holiday season. "This is intolerable," Korthek hissed to Commander Zoltan. "Never in my 3 centuries of conquest have I encountered a species that responds to overwhelming force with mockery. They must be taught to fear us properly." Zoltan's silver skin rippled with concern. "General, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. These humans seem different from other species we have encountered." "Different?" Korthak's 6 eyes glowed. "Brighter. They are primitive mammals who have barely learned to leave their own planet. I will show them what happens when they fail to show proper respect to the Zephyrian Empire." Korthak turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare a precision strike on an uninhabited area of their planet. We will demonstrate our power without causing significant casualties. Perhaps seeing their land burned will make them understand." The weapons. Officer's claws clicked over the control interface. General, our scanners show an empty desert region in the western continent. No cities, no visible population centers. It appears to be completely uninhabited. Perfect, Korthek said. Target. That area. One plasma bombardment should be sufficient to show them what we can do. What General Korthak and his crew did not know was that their uninhabited target was actually one of the most secret and heavily defended locations on Earth. The Nevada desert looked empty from space, but beneath the sand and rock lay Area 51. Humanity's most classified military installation, Colonel Steve Parker, was enjoying a quiet morning coffee in his underground office when the first alien plasma bolt struck the surface above him. The impact sent shockwaves through the entire facility, and emergency alarms began blaring throughout the complex. "What the hell was that?" Parker shouted as he grabbed his radio. "Report!" "Sir, we're under attack," came the voice of Sergeant Lisa Barnes from the surface monitoring station. "Unknown energy weapons coming from the alien ships. They just hit Sector 7. Parker's face went pale. Sector 7 was where they kept the experimental aircraft, the reverse-engineered technology from the Roswell incident, and about 50 years' worth of secret weapons projects. If the aliens thought they were attacking an empty desert, they were about to get a very unpleasant surprise. "Activate all defense systems," Parker ordered. "I repeat, activate all defense systems. This is not a drill." Deep beneath the desert, machines that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. The facility's experimental energy shields, powered by technology that officially didn't exist, flickered to life. Kinetic bombardment platforms, disguised as ordinary buildings on the surface, began to emerge from hidden silos. The Zephyrian strike force that had been sent to make a simple demonstration found themselves facing return fire from weapons they didn't know existed. Energy beams lanced up from the desert, striking two of their escort fighters and sending them spinning into the sand in balls of flame. "What is this?" demanded Captain Vex, the strike force commander. Our intelligence said this area was uninhabited. His sensor officer's voice was filled with panic. "Sir, I'm detecting multiple energy signatures. The entire area is filled with hidden installations, and they're all powering up weapon systems." The third alien fighter exploded as a kinetic projectile, traveling at tremendous speed, punched through its shields and hull. The remaining ships of the strike force found themselves under heavy fire from an enemy they couldn't even see. "All units retreat immediately," Captain Vex ordered. "Return to the mothership. We are under attack by unknown forces." But it was too late for two more ships. The desert erupted with defensive fire as every secret weapon system in Area 51 came online. Plasma cannons, railguns, and experimental energy weapons that had been built over decades of preparation for exactly this scenario filled the sky with deadly light. Colonel Parker watched the alien ships fall from his command center. Deep underground. "Well, I'll be damned," he said to Sergeant Barnes. "Looks like all those years of preparing for little green men finally paid off." The destruction of 5 Zephyrian ships sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. General Korthak stared at the tactical display showing the wreckage of his strike force scattered across the Nevada desert. "How is this possible?" he demanded. Our intelligence showed no military installations in that area. Commander Zolthan studied the sensor readings. "General, it appears the humans have been hiding their true capabilities. The energy signatures we're detecting suggest technology far more advanced than we believed possible." Meanwhile, around the world, humanity was responding to the alien attack in ways that continued to surprise and alarm the Zephyrians. The news of the battle at Area 51 spread across the internet within minutes. But instead of panic, it seemed to energize the human population. In Tokyo, robotics engineer Dr. Susan Kim was working with her team to adapt civilian manufacturing robots for military use. "If they want to fight," she told her colleagues, "we'll give them a fight they'll never forget." In Munich, physicist Dr. Paul Weber was leading an international team of scientists in examining the wreckage of the downed alien ships. This hull material is fascinating, he said as he studied a piece of alien armor. It's strong, but it has a weakness. If we can replicate the energy frequency that brought it down, we can make weapons that will cut through it like paper. But the real surprise came from Australia, where Marine Sergeant Tony Phillips was stationed at what appeared to be an ordinary military base. The base was actually a front for Project Lazarus, a program that had been running for 30 years. In preparation for exactly this scenario, "Sir," Phillips reported to his commander, "we're getting reports of alien activity worldwide. Should we activate the sleeper protocols?" Colonel Kate Morrison nodded. "Do it. Wake up all the sleeper cells. It's time the world knew what we've really been preparing for." Within hours, military bases around the world began revealing capabilities that had been hidden for decades. Underground facilities emerged from beneath ordinary farms and factories. Weapons systems that looked like civilian infrastructure revealed their true purpose. Satellites that had been dismissed as communication devices began targeting the alien ships with precision. Laser arrays, the aliens watched in growing alarm, as Earth transformed before their eyes. The planet they had thought was defended by primitive nuclear weapons and conventional military forces suddenly bristled with advanced technology they had never seen before. "General," Zoltan reported, his voice trembling, "our intelligence was completely wrong. These humans have been preparing for interstellar warfare for decades. They have hidden installations on every continent, weapon systems in orbit, and technology that rivals our own." Korthak's claws scraped against the metal of his command chair. "That's impossible. They're a primitive species. They fight among themselves constantly. They can't possibly have this level of coordination." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet. It's coming from multiple sources simultaneously." The holographic display flickered to life, showing Admiral Jake Morrison in the Colorado Command Center. Behind him, screens showed similar command centers around the world, all connected and coordinating their response. "General Korthak," Morrison said calmly, "I believe you wanted to demonstrate your power to us. Well, we'd like to return the favor. What you just attacked wasn't an empty desert. It was one of our most heavily defended installations. And now you've given us a very good reason to show you what we're really capable of." The display switched to show footage of the alien ships burning in the Nevada desert. "Those were your ships, General, your people. And this is just the beginning." Korthak stared at the screen in shock. For the first time in his long military career, he was facing an enemy that had been preparing for his arrival long before he knew they existed. "You see, General," Morrison continued, "we humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've gotten very good at it. But we've also gotten very good at preparing for outside threats. Did you really think we'd spend all this time and money on space programs and military research without preparing for the possibility that we might not be alone?" The transmission ended, leaving Korthak staring at a blank screen. Around him, his officers waited for orders, but for the first time in his career, the great general had no idea what to do next. "Sir," Zoltan said quietly, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach to this species." Korthak's 6 eyes dimmed as he contemplated the burning wreckage of his ships on the planet below. "Yes," he said slowly. "Perhaps we should." The destruction of his ships had shaken General Korthak more than he cared to admit, but it was what happened next that truly terrified him. Within hours of the battle at Area 51, every major university, corporation, and government laboratory on Earth had mobilized for war. The aliens watched in growing horror as humanity transformed itself into a war machine with a speed that defied all logic. Commander Zoltan stood beside his general, studying the reports flowing in from their surveillance systems. "General, the humans are not behaving like any species we have encountered before. Instead of retreating or surrendering after our show of force, they appear to be accelerating their preparations for conflict." Korthak's 6 eyes focused on the holographic displays showing Earth's surface. "Show me what they are doing." The displays changed to show scenes from around the planet. In Boston, Dr. Rachel Stone was working in her laboratory at MIT, surrounded by samples of alien hull material recovered from the Nevada crash site. She had been working for 18 straight hours, fueled by coffee and determination. "Look at this," she called to her assistant, pointing at a computer screen showing molecular analysis. "Their armor plating has a crystalline structure that's incredibly strong, but it has a frequency resonance weakness. If we can create a polymer that vibrates at the right frequency, we can make their shields useless." Her assistant, a graduate student named Mark Wilson, stared at the data. "Professor, are you saying we can make their super-advanced alien armor worthless with the right kind of plastic?" "That's exactly what I'm saying," Stone replied, already working on the chemical formula. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones." In Detroit, factory worker Mike Thompson was standing in front of a group of automotive engineers, pointing at assembly line diagrams. "Look, I've been building cars for 20 years, he said. "If we modify these production lines just a little bit, we can triple our output of those new armor-piercing rounds. We just need to treat it like building engines, but faster." The engineers looked skeptical until Thompson showed them his calculations. "Mike," said one of them, "you're talking about retooling an entire automotive plant in a matter of days. So?" Thompson shrugged. "We did it in World War II. My grandfather helped convert a car factory to build bomber engines in 6 weeks. At least this time we're not starting from scratch." But perhaps the most surprising contribution came from 12-year-old Katie Brown in Oregon. The genius child had been following the technical discussions online and had sent an email to the Department of Defense with a solution to a power distribution problem that had been stumping adult engineers for days. "According to this kid's math," said Pentagon engineer Dr. Robert Kim as he studied Katie's proposal, "we can increase the efficiency of our new energy weapons by 40% just by changing the power routing configuration." His colleague, Dr. Maria Santos, shook her head in amazement. "A 12-year-old just solved a problem that our best engineers couldn't figure out?" I don't know whether to be impressed or embarrassed. The aliens monitored these developments with growing alarm. They had expected the humans to focus their efforts on evacuation or perhaps building defensive positions. Instead, the entire planet seemed to be turning into a research and development facility focused on one goal: fighting back. What truly frightened the Zephyrians was not just the speed of human adaptation, but their creativity. Coffee shops had become recruiting stations where civilians volunteered for military support roles. Video game players were being recruited to pilot combat drones, their years of gaming experience translating surprisingly well to real warfare. Truck drivers like Gary Coleman were volunteering to transport supplies across continents, coordinating through social media to create supply chains that moved faster than military logistics. "This is impossible," Korthek muttered as he watched. A report about a group of retired engineers in Florida who had designed a new type of missile in their garage. How can an entire species coordinate like this without central command? Commander Zolfin's silver skin had turned an even paler shade. "General, I believe the answer is their communication network. What we initially dismissed as a primitive information system is actually a sophisticated command and control network that allows instant coordination across their entire planet." The proof of this came from an unexpected source. Chef Maria Santos in New Mexico had been sharing tactical information through social media with fighter pilot Captain Ryan Tucker in Japan. Her observations about alien movement patterns, combined with his military training, had resulted in a strategy that helped save 3 cities from alien reconnaissance flights. How did a cook become a military strategist? Tucker wondered as he read Maria's latest message about predicted alien patrol routes. "Same way a fighter pilot learned to cook," Maria replied in her message. "We pay attention to patterns and we adapt. Besides, managing a restaurant kitchen during dinner rush is basically warfare with food." But the humans had more surprises in store. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in his command center looking at tactical displays that showed something the aliens had not expected. Hidden throughout Earth's solar system were weapons platforms that the Zephyrians had dismissed as primitive, communication satellites and space stations. Are you telling me, Morrison asked his weapons coordinator, that we've had orbital kinetic bombardment platforms for the past 15 years and nobody told me? Captain Linda Foster, who had been transferred from Alaska to coordinate the space-based weapons, nodded. Admiral, those research stations and communication satellites were always dual-purpose. We've been preparing for this possibility since the 1960s. The turning point came when humanity launched its first coordinated counterattack. Using modified space rockets loaded with kinetic projectiles, they delivered what amounted to giant bullets that moved so fast they punched through Zephyrian shields through sheer velocity and mass. Captain Foster coordinated the attack from her command center, watching as the alien ships tried to maneuver away from the incoming projectiles. Target locked on the lead cruiser, she reported. Firing solution calculated. Sometimes the old ways work best. The kinetic projectile struck the alien ship at tremendous speed, punching through its shields and hull like they were made of paper. The ship spun out of control, its systems failing as atmosphere vented into space. Direct hit, Foster announced. One alien cruiser down. Targeting the next ship. General Korthak watched in disbelief as his ships began falling from the sky. These humans were using simple physics and high-speed metal projectiles to defeat technology that had conquered 17 star systems. How are they doing this? He demanded. Our shields can stop energy weapons, plasma cannons, even nuclear explosions. How are metal projectiles penetrating our defenses? General, his science officer replied, the projectiles are moving at significant fractions of light speed. At those velocities, mass becomes a weapon more powerful than any energy beam. Their solution is crude but effective. But the humans weren't finished. Around the world, hidden installations were coming online. In London, quantum physicist Dr. Helen Wright was activating a device that disrupted alien communications by creating interference in the quantum frequencies. The Zephyrians used for their faster-than-light communications? If we can't understand their technology, Wright explained to her team, we can at least mess with it. Think of it as cosmic radio jamming. In Sydney, former Special Forces operative Nick Carter was leading a ground assault on alien troops that had landed to investigate the human weapons. Remember, he told his team as they approached the landing site, these bugs might have fancy armor, but they still have to follow the laws of physics. Hit them hard and hit them fast. The alien ground forces, expecting to face primitive human infantry, found themselves under attack from soldiers using a combination of advanced energy weapons and old-fashioned tactics. Carter's team moved through the battlefield like ghosts, striking quickly and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Sir, one of Carter's soldiers reported, their personal shields don't seem to work against our new frequency weapons. It's like they're not even wearing armor. Good, Carter replied. Let's keep it that way. As the day wore on, more alien ships fell from the sky. The Zephyrian fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours before, was being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had underestimated in every possible way. In his command center, General Korthak stared at the tactical displays showing the destruction of his fleet. For the first time in his long military career, he was facing the possibility of complete defeat. General, Commander Zolfin said quietly, we are receiving communication requests from the human forces. They want to discuss terms. Korthak's claws scraped against his command chair. Terms? They want to discuss terms with us? Yes, General. It appears they are offering us the opportunity to surrender. The great conqueror of 17 star systems stood in silence, watching his ships burn in the atmosphere of a planet he had thought would be an easy conquest. He was beginning to understand that he had not just underestimated humanity's technology or their military capabilities. He had underestimated what it meant to be human. The final battle began at dawn on the third day, with General Korthak making one last desperate attempt to salvage his mission. Facing the first real military defeat of his 300-year career, he ordered every remaining ship in his fleet to attack Earth's major cities simultaneously. If he could not conquer the humans, he would at least make them pay for their defiance. but humanity was ready for him. Above New York City, the sky erupted in brilliant flashes of light as experimental laser arrays, coordinated by technician Barry Shaw from his converted subway station command post, intercepted alien fighters before they could reach the city. Shaw, who had been a subway maintenance worker just 3 days earlier, was now directing defensive fire with the precision of a seasoned military commander. Target acquired, Sector 7, Shaw spoke into his headset while watching multiple screens showing incoming alien craft. Firing solution locked. Take them down. The laser beams lanced upward from hidden positions throughout the city, striking the alien fighters and sending them spinning into the Hudson River in balls of flame. Above him, the citizens of New York watched from their windows and rooftops, many recording the battle on their phones and streaming it live to the world. In London, quantum physicist Dr. Helen Wright was putting the finishing touches on her masterpiece. The device she had been working on for the past 2 days was designed to disrupt alien communications by creating interference in the quantum frequencies the Zephyrians used for coordination. If we can break their ability to communicate with each other, Wright explained to her assistant as she activated the machine, their fleet coordination will collapse. They'll be fighting as individual ships instead of as a unified force? The device hummed to life, sending invisible waves of quantum interference across the entire European continent. Almost immediately, the alien ships above London began moving erratically, their formations breaking apart as pilots lost contact with their commanders. In Sydney, former Special Forces operative Nick Carter was leading what might have been the most unusual ground battle in human history. Alien troops had landed in Hyde Park, expecting to face primitive human infantry. Instead, they found themselves fighting soldiers equipped with weapons that seemed to ignore their advanced armor completely. "Remember what Dr. Stone taught us," Carter called to his team as they moved through the park. "Their shields work against energy weapons, but not against the right frequency of energy weapons. Hit them with the new guns and they go down just like anyone else." Carter's soldiers moved through the battlefield with deadly efficiency, using tactics that combined centuries of human warfare experience with technology that had been developed in just 3 days. The alien soldiers, despite their advanced equipment, found themselves outmatched by enemies who seemed to know exactly how to exploit every weakness in their defenses. But the real turning point came from an unexpected source. Retired school teacher Grace Miller, working with her adult education class in a small library in Kansas, had been studying the alien language since the first broadcast. What started as an intellectual curiosity had become something much more important. I've got it," Miller announced to her students as she worked at a computer surrounded by books and notes. "Their language follows mathematical patterns. If I'm right about the syntax structure, we should be able to understand everything they're saying to each other." Her student, a local mechanic named Dave Johnson, looked over her shoulder at the translation software she had created. "You mean we can listen in on their radio chatter?" "Better than that," Miller replied with a smile. "We can understand their battle plans in real time." Within minutes, Miller's translation breakthrough was being used by military commanders around the world. For the first time since the invasion began, humans could hear exactly what the alien forces were planning to do before they did it. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in his command center, listening to intercepted alien communications that were now being translated in real time. "Are you telling me," he said to his communications officer, "that a retired school teacher just broke their military encryption?" "Yes, sir," the officer replied. "Mrs. Miller says their language is based on mathematical principles that make it very logical but also very predictable once you understand the patterns." Morrison shook his head in amazement. 3 days ago, we didn't even know aliens existed. Now we're reading their mail." The intercepted communications revealed that General Korthek was growing desperate. His fleet was being destroyed piece by piece. His ground forces were being defeated by enemies they had thought were primitive, and his entire invasion plan was falling apart. "All units, focus fire on the human command centers," came Korthek's voice through the translation system. "If we can destroy their leadership, their coordination will collapse." But the humans had learned something important about their enemy. The Zephyrians, for all their advanced technology, fought like a traditional military force with centralized command and rigid hierarchies. Humans, on the other hand, had adapted to fighting as a network where everyone could make decisions and contribute to the overall strategy. When the aliens attacked what they thought were human command centers, they discovered that destroying one facility did nothing to stop the overall human response. The defense of Earth was being coordinated by everyone from retired teachers to subway workers to 12-year-old geniuses, all connected through the same internet that the aliens had dismissed as primitive. The final blow came when Captain Linda Foster, coordinating the space-based weapons from her command center in Alaska, received targeting information from Grace Miller's translation team. "We know where their flagship is going to be in the next 30 minutes, Foster announced. "All orbital platforms prepare for coordinated strike." General Korthek stood in his command center, watching his fleet burn around him when the kinetic projectile struck his flagship. The massive ship shuddered as multiple high-speed impacts overwhelmed its shields and tore through its hull. "General," Commander Zolfin reported, his voice filled with panic, "we have multiple hull breaches. Primary power is failing. Life support is critical." It was then that Admiral Morrison's voice came through the communication system, translated into perfect Zephyrian by Grace Miller's software. "General Korthak, this is Admiral Morrison of the United Earth Defense Command. Your fleet is destroyed. Your invasion has failed. We are prepared to accept your surrender." Korthak stared at the holographic display showing the burning remains of his once mighty fleet. Ships that had conquered 17 star systems were now debris floating in Earth's atmosphere. "How?" he whispered. "How did a primitive species defeat the Zephyrian Empire?" "General," Morrison's voice continued, "you made one critical error. You assume that because we fight each other, we can't fight together. You were wrong. You also assume that technology always beats ingenuity. You were wrong about that too. Most importantly, you picked on the wrong species. We don't just defend ourselves, we make sure the threat never comes back." The surviving Zephyrian ships began to retreat, but not before human forces captured 3 intact vessels and took dozens of alien prisoners. The tables had turned completely. Within hours, Earth's engineers, led by Dr. Susan Kim in Tokyo and Dr. Paul Weber in Munich, were beginning to reverse engineer alien technology at a speed that terrified the retreating Zephyrians. "Look at this," Dr. Kim said as she examined an alien power core. "Their energy systems are actually less efficient than what we've been developing. We can improve on this." Dr. Weber nodded as he studied alien navigation systems. "And they're faster than light. Travel technology is brilliant, but it has obvious improvements we can make. Give us 6 months and we'll have ships that are better than theirs." President Lisa Carter addressed the world from the White House, speaking through communication systems that were now broadcasting to the entire galaxy using captured alien technology. "To any species in the galaxy considering hostile action against Earth, this message is for you. We tried to handle this diplomatically, we really did, but you insisted on war. Now you've taught us things we never knew we could do." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "We have coffee to drink and lives to live. Don't make us come out there." 6 months later, General Korthak sat in a comfortable cell in a human prison facility, being interviewed by reporter Jennifer Collins for a documentary about the invasion. Despite being a prisoner of war, he was treated well, given books to read, and even provided with food that approximated Zephyrian dietary needs. "General," Collins asked, "what did you learn about humanity during your time here?" Korthak's 6 eyes dimmed as he considered the question. "Never attack a species that makes jokes about their own extinction," he replied wearily. "And never trust intelligence reports that can't detect paranoia. Is there anything else?" "Yes," Korthak said, quietly. "Never underestimate a species that can turn a schoolteacher, a subway worker, and a 12-year-old child into weapons of war. Your people don't just fight with technology or tactics. You fight with your entire civilization." The story concluded. with humanity taking its first steps into the galaxy as an interstellar species.